In today's video, we are going to add a signal module onto our PLC. We're getting to the point now where most of our PLCs, unlike mine, don't have this extra set of I/O. So you're starting to run out of inputs, run out of outputs, looking to expand. So now we are talking about signal modules. So today, I want to show you how to connect this, wire it, configure it in the software, and start using it. So let's start with connecting it and wiring it. So first, to connect these boards, you need to power off your PLC. So whether that is unplug it from the wall, in my case, I have a break array here. We need to power down this PLC. Next, these are modular units. So meaning there is no rack that this slides into. They just press together. And then there is a little locking connecting tab right here. Sometimes you can press this together and push it over with your finger. Oh, yep, there I got it. Sometimes if not, and do not force this, but sometimes I take a little screwdriver and push down and to push over. But you can see there with my finger, I was able to push over and lock that in. You also want to make sure everything is tight together. So now this is physically connected to our PLC. If we open up these covers here, we have two terminal blocks. You can see 1 and 2. We also have 2 rows of information. The one closest to you or closest to the lights, that is the top. The one furthest away from the indicator lights is the bottom. So you kind of look at it just like they're stacked up. So for example, we have a ground symbol right here. That ground symbol is going to be the first terminal block on the top. Same with on the bottom. I'll remove this cover here. Same with on the bottom. The one closest to the indicator lights is the top. The one furthest away is the bottom. So just kind of how you're looking straight at them. So that is one thing to take note in wiring these up. Looking at this one, this is a SM signal module 1221 DC, meaning this is a digital input. So this gives us 16 digital inputs, 8 on the top and 8 on the bottom. We can see that the DI symbol right here, meaning digital input. We could also look on the side here to grab the model number, and we can look that up to see some of our wiring. But looking at the top and at the bottom, we notice that this module does not take power. So we do not have to supply power to this card. It will pull it from the PLC. And all we have is a ground and a bunch of connections. So we have a common and then four connections. Common, 4 inputs. Same on the bottom, a common, 4 inputs, and a common, 4 inputs. So all this needs is to be plugged in. It needs a common, and then you can take your signal to any one of your inputs. I'm going to get that wired up here to just a push button contact to replicate a input coming in. All right, I got my normally open push button wired up here. I brought a common in this case a negative. I brought it to M1M, which 1M, looking here, is furthest away from me. That's why I went to the bottom terminal block, and it is 3 over. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. And then I'm just going to use input dot 0. So I brought my 24 volts through my push button to input dot 0. So that is wired up. Now we can power back on and see what that looks like. So as you can see, when we get powered up here, the diagnostic light on the new card is blinking because we have not configured it yet. And if we push our button, we can see that we're getting an input in. So we know our wiring is correct, and we know that card is seeing a signal. We are done over here. everything is good, we now need to jump to the software side of things to add this in the software. All right, over here on the software side, I have started my program. I have my PLC added in devices and networks. I came to this screen. This may look familiar from your HMI screen. I double clicked on my PLC and I got to this view right here. So what this is telling me is here's my PLC, and this can tell me how many of those modules I can add on to the side. Yours, I believe, is going to be just 3 extra, I believe. These 101, 2, and 3, these are for communication side. We are dealing with over here. We are dealing with 2, 3, possibly 4. So to add this to our PLC, we need to come over here to our hardware catalog. CPU, we are not in that. Signal boards, we're not there. We are down here. So now's the question of what do you have? So we know that I have a DI. So that is a digital input. What is my digital input? So this is why it was important to know how to look these up and see. We can also see on the side here what exactly the number is. But I am adding 16 24-volt input, right? We're adding 8 on the top and 8 on the bottom. So I'm going to go to DI 16 times 24, and it gives me 2 options. I can look on the side here and tell you that my option is the 1BH32 option. So you can see now that I have this clicked here, all of these highlighted. So I can either come down here and click where I want to add it, or I can do a click and drag to the number 2 slot. So there it is. So you can see, make sure your module matches a 1221, 1221 DC, and it adds 16 digital inputs. So now that is added to our PLC on the software side. We need to add it to our PLC on the hardware side. So to come in here, come to our PLC, we are going to right click on our PLC, and we are going to do a compile first. Compile, we want to do a hardware and software because we made a hardware change. So we are going to do that to make sure everything is okay there. And then after this is complete, we're going to do 2 downloads. So we are going to come to download, and we are first going to do a hardware configuration download because we've changed the hardware. We have added something. So this is my first time downloading to the PLC today, so I have to find my connection. If this wasn't your first time today, this is what you'll get. And we hit load. So what this is doing, it does not move any of my program. It just moves my hardware configuration. So I configure it on the computer to have an extra card. Now I am telling the PLC it has an extra card. I hit finish here, and if we look over at our PLC now, you notice our diagnostic light stopped blinking here because now the PLC knows that this is added to it. All right, so now that we have it added, what addresses are these? Right over here, we know there's 0 dot something. One way to find that out is on this screen. If we zoom in, so you can zoom down here on this slider, you can also do a control and a scroll wheel if you're using a mouse. Oh, there we go. If we zoom in here, you can actually see what addresses this is. So you can see over here on my PLC, my tags that I've already made, they show up. But you can also see this, how I know what the rest of these are. So over here, we see the top is 80 through 87, and the bottom is 90 through 97. So this is what these tags are addressed to. So if I want to make a tag for my button and I wired it up to 0, I'm going to address that as 8.0. So what we can do over here in our PLC tags, we can show all tags and we can add those to here, right? I can hit add new and I can go test. I can just make a tag called test button. I can come over here and define it as an input, and I can say it is the address of 8.0. So now that is that new tag. Remember, it makes tags after this one. So if I hit a new tag and go tag 2, there's 8.1, so on and so forth. So we have our tag made. Let's make some PLC logic to test it. Let's come to program blocks, main, and let's throw a button that turns on a light. So remember, this light is wired up to our outputs on our PLC. We've been using it called light. It is also the physical light on my HMI. And we are going to turn that on with test button. So now we are going to come in with an input from our module, come in through our PLC, and then out through the PLC outputs if everything works correctly. So I've already done a hardware download. So I want to do a software download. Software is your program. Hardware is the actual devices. I'm going to stop all. And finish. I'm going to go online. And monitor. All right, so now if I push my test input, my light should come on. So program-wise, we see it work. So program-wise, we see it work. If we look over at our PLC itself, we can see our input coming on right here, controlling our output right here. If I adjust my camera a little bit back to my screen over here, remember this is the light we're turning on. So when I am pressing this button, the light is coming on. So we have successfully configured a signal module with 16 additional inputs to our PLC. This can be inputs and outputs. This can be digital. This can be analog. We have a bunch of different styles. So in this case, you can add what is needed. So that is adding, wiring, and configuring on the software a signal module. Grab one, find out what it does, find out how it needs wired, and hook it to your PLC.